Just heard that he never loved blacks and that blacks are better off as slaves. Kind of give me a feeling. You understand why some people are really, not feeling any kind of way that he passed, right? So I wanted to see, FBAs and other black people really reacting to his passing. I'll be back.
Once again, black men on their knees for a white supremacist. They in my DM saying, no way you're laughing at this. It's black creators making videos saying, I can't believe that y'all are cheering this on. The usual suspects. You know they have to conform to their audience, their wives, their girlfriends, their wives and girlfriends' families. They did it around election time. They did it all through Trump's first 6 months. They've been doing it for a long time. And I've been warning y'all about some of these black creators and the rhetoric that they pushing and which side they on. And these dudes in my DMs. But nobody wanted to listen to me. They act like I'm the extra woke friend. I ain't even the most woke. There's way more woke friends than me. Trust me. But let's just break it down for y'all who don't know who Charlie Kirk is. This man is the same man that said black people should not even have had rights. He said that the civil rights movement and affirmative action was a mistake. He said that black women don't have the brain power to work these jobs. They just still in white positions. He said that affirmative action was the biggest mistake. And before the 1940s, then black people were way less violent. He was saying that black people were better off as slaves. Better off before we had civil liberties. Better off before we had rights. He said that Palestine doesn't exist. He cheered on the Russians with Ukraine. He said that George Floyd, who was also a father, you know what I'm saying, was a scumbag. Every time police brutality happens, every time a black man passes away in the hands of the police, Charlie Kirk and the rest of his little minions stand up and they cheer. Can we cheer now? Can we clap now? Now let me make this clear. I've never woke up and wished anyone to pass away. I've never woke up and wished anyone to pass away. I wish somebody stole a minute shit. But when you wake up and spread racism, fascism, misogyny, homophobia, every type of ism that you can possibly spread, like you wake up every day, you record videos, you go out to these campuses and you spread as much hate as possible, and you start talking about school mass offings, and they ask you questions about these things, and you say that, oh, that's just what comes with it. We need to talk about gang violence. No, we don't need to talk about gang violence. That is an isolated situation. We need to talk about these innocent students at these schools is getting offed. We need to talk about these innocent children, women, husbands, fathers in Palestine getting offed. Congo getting offed. Ukraine getting offed. Black Americans getting offed. That's what we need to talk about, the innocent people. Nobody has ever marched, no black person has ever marched on a national, worldwide stance against some gang violence in their city. We have little marches in our own cities. Put them down, little things in our own cities that we fight for. But y'all wouldn't know that, right? So, when this guy passes away, now we're supposed to have empathy, which Charlie Kirk said is not a real thing. That's a woke ideology. DEI, woke. Empathy is woke. And y'all are copping for this man. And let me tell you why this is so dangerous. Let me tell you why he is not just a social media influencer. Let me tell you why he is so dangerous. Let me tell you why he is more dangerous than the Grand Wizard that came up from the 60s and 70s and was out here turning people into strange fruit. Let me tell you why he's more dangerous. Because he's going to colleges, indoctrinating the minds of 17, 18, 19-year-olds. He's going to high schools. His whole company is tailored towards educating kids into fascism, into racism, into misogyny, into making 10-year-old SA victims have their children. Yeah, that's his whole spiel. So when you have that amount of influence and you're indoctrinating the future leaders of America, college kids, and your counterparts in the government, politicians, are defunding DEI programs at the highest levels of education at different universities, and you come in and sweep right in and be able to influence the youth in the most regressive way possible to get us back to pre-1940s, and you spew out that rhetoric, when someone comes to silence you, you cannot be surprised. If somebody in the future saw that Charlie Kirk had so much influence on this next generation that they knocked us back into the 1930s in America within the next 25 years, and they had a time travel machine, they would probably go back in time and make sure that he is not able to take over the way he is, to push the rhetoric that he has pushed. But y'all don't care about that, because you feel that you have proximity to whiteness and that will save you. Silly raccoon. Tricks are for kids.
Data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but I guess
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that
in the last
affected
80 years.
The generational psyche of an entire group of people?
No, I'm sure it did. I'm not discounting that.
Remember when Charlie Kirk said that black women didn't have the same brain processing power? Remember when Charlie Kirk said that children dying in mass shootings was deemed worth it? Remember when Charlie Kirk said that if his daughter were and had to carry that baby at 10 years old, that he would force his daughter to have that child? Well, I do. Charlie Kirk was a raging racist. Hatred, used every single ounce of time of his life on this planet to spew hatred towards marginalized groups. And for the fact that people are like, he was a father, he was this, he was that. Although that is true, so are horrifically bad people in history. I'm sure Robert E. Lee, etc., or other people in history were fathers and had families. That doesn't take away the fact that this person was a bad person. And in the words of Charlie Kirk, he simply didn't believe empathy was real. So why should people sit up here and feel bad? No one condones violence. Violence is never the answer, but at the same time, you can't force some people to mourn something when they were actively being hated on by this group.
Mind you, he was taken up out of here in one of the whitest states, a red state, in this country. There's no indication that his gunman was anything but the reaction from people on that side and people who sympathize with him and believe in the things he believed in is to target and attack black people. And these are the people that we're supposed to think just have different political views than us. People who are making us scapegoats of something that we clearly had nothing to do with. And that's why we don't have to be sad.
And to my people, to my black people, this is not our fight. Stay out of it. It's not our fight. They said violence had no place in politics. They weren't saying that during the civil rights, back when they was assassinating us then. It didn't apply then. Let it fly now. It's not our fight. Let the white people handle it.
I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the.
Oh, really? Then who are you? What do you believe, Charlie Kirk? Because you know what I think when I see a white guy of medium to low intelligence with a huge audience because he spews racist and other bigoted ideas? I think they've been handed everything they've ever had. Do you know how difficult it probably was for that black pilot to get where they are? Don't project your shit onto them. Just because your path to fame and fortune was paved with gold doesn't mean that's how it's been for everybody else.
Black people are not surprised because you cannot name me the one black leader that has not been jailed and or unalived because of their beliefs. This isn't new news to us because this has been happening for the last 300 years. This is not a surprise. You actively spoke this into the universe and the universe swung back around and checked on you. The lesson to be learned here is that as a society, we are not so far ahead that you cannot be touched in these streets. Understand, people are so comfortable with the internet and saying racist things, bigoted things, funny little racist things on the internet, and not realizing that there are real life people out here that will get at you and call you on that. And now people are trying to preach and speak on the few things that he spoke about that were sensible and understandable, right? But they're not bringing up the fact that he intentionally quotes wrong statistics and does not explain them to his young following in order to incite white fear, especially against black people and other minority groups. Now, was he the most brilliant person in the world? No, but he was not an idiot. So let's not act like he could not translate this information to his followers. So when you quote things like the 1350 and all you leave it is there like, well, black people are 30% of the population and they could make 50% of the... And don't even explain those are wrong statistics, because I bet you didn't know the 1350 is wrong. And I bet you don't know how the 1350 is wrong. You are intentionally putting negativity into the world.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
Because black people tend to be in lower economic statuses.
So you think that poverty equals crime?
It's highly correlated. A lot of
this is where we disagree. What an insult to the working poor of this country.
So why do you think black people commit more crime?
Well, first of all, what percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
25%. 75% of black youth are raised without a father in the home. 75%. It is the most predictable way to end up in prison, end up as a murderer or a criminal. It's not a racism problem. It's not a white supremacy problem. It's a fact that black fathers impregnate women and they don't stay around with the women that they have impregnated.
Okay, so what I don't understand is this. Charlie Kirk got shot in Utah, and y'all are blaming black people? Like, if there was one state where I would assume a black person wasn't a suspect, it would be Utah. Like, y'all are really showing yourself right now. Utah? Who knows? It could be. But if it was a black person in Utah, I feel like they would just call up the 9 black people that are there like, hey, did y'all do it? Where were you yesterday? And that would be it. But 3 HBCUs, and apparently more, I've seen since are closing or canceling classes. They're saying Alabama State, Hampton, and Virginia State have received campus threats. They're on lockdown. They canceled class today and Friday. You never can be too safe in these days and times. And I mean, you can do class virtually anyway. So, but yeah, this is sad. See, this is the stuff that's sad and crazy, that something can happen in Utah and it's black students being blamed. Students, these are people that are trying to better the future, better the country, help folk. It doesn't make sense.
Why are so many of y'all wrapped up in the idea of being the bigger person? What has that ever gotten you? Where has that ever put you besides up high on your moral high horse so you can wag your finger at everybody else? Y'all are scolding people for not grieving a man who literally openly, publicly said he did not believe in empathy, that he thought it was a made-up new age term. That man didn't care about you, your neighbors, your family, your friends, your children. He said that your lives were the cost that you unfortunately just have to pay to have the Second Amendment. It is what it is. That is exactly how he saw you. Women are supposed to do nothing but bear children and submit to their husbands. Brown people are supposed to go back to where they came from. Queer folk are unnatural. Black folk are responsible for gang violence. He had nothing good to say about nobody. And he got on public platforms to spew this very hateful rhetoric that leads to the same type of violence that we saw today. And you are expecting people to mourn? I feel bad for his children. Children are always the victims of situations like this. They are brought into a world that they do not understand, with rules and hardship and all these things that just are outside of their grasp, and they're left reeling with loss and grief and no way to process it. It sucks. But no, when I think about the man and the things he said and the things he stood for, I'm not going to scold trans people or Arabic people or immigrants or anybody else for cheering when that man was openly cheering against them. And for you to think that that's something we should be doing, that we should be grieving this certain way so that we can look like we all have human empathy for other people. He didn't even believe in empathy. He didn't even believe in you. They go low, so we go high. Okay, now we're up high and we still don't have gun control passed. And that's why everything happened today happened from him up to the other school shooting that happened today that didn't even crack the news cycle. All the people in this world who deserve our empathy, who believe in our empathy. And you want us to pick a bigot to prove a point? To who? To who?
I don't have many cohesive thoughts about Charlie Kirk's passing, I'll be honest. The video of him being shot in the neck left me very horrowed, much like the video of Irina Zarutska being stabbed on the train left me very horrowed. And the reactions to both also leave me very horrowed, as they're very telling about the state of this country currently. The best I can do, per usual, is give some key points. Charlie Kirk's opinions and rhetoric over the years have been abhorrent. I've disagreed with almost every word. However, I don't think being fatally shot in the neck and bleeding out in front of your wife and children and swarms of college students is just punishment for that. Nor do I think it's a circumstance one's wife, children, or swarms of college students should have to witness. I have sincere condolences for his family, and if any of that footage remains on social media, I'd strongly suggest avoiding it. Charlie Kirk, though a victim, is not a martyr. He and many other right-wing extremists, along with Republicans, have long rejected conversations about gun reform in this country, have praised the open carry laws that governed the same campus Charlie was shot at today. They've stated that if lives being lost is the cost we have to pay to have an uninfringed upon Second Amendment, so be it. And so it has been. In the same hour of his shooting, 3 kids in Colorado were killed in a school shooting. The same way kids will die in a school shooting next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. It is not lost on me that Republicans vocalized and mobilized faster for Charlie Kirk than any other shooting we've seen in the past year, including the assassination of the 2 Democratic lawmakers a few months back. It is not lost on me that our deaths, should we meet them the same way, will receive thoughts and prayers in response. It is not lost on me that Republicans and right-wing extremists will now demand a level of compassion and decency they've yet to offer anyone else. Do you think if I'd been shot in the neck at a college campus while talking about women's reproductive rights, I'd be met with this much outcry against political violence? Or do you think I'd be met with, she was doing the work of the devil and deserved it? The lesson there isn't what we deserve, and it isn't to rescind your empathy. The lesson is the ecosystem we feed is the ecosystem we will have to survive in. And until we start having real conversations that lead to real legislation to create a better and safer ecosystem, things are only going to get worse. Be very careful about what you post online. I cannot tell you how stupid you have to be, regardless of how you feel about Charlie Kirk, to attach your name and face to content celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, or the president, or any other prominent figures in politics. In a time where threats are going to be deemed more credible and taken much more seriously, in a time where our government is grabbing people off the streets, shoving them into vans, deeming them terrorists, and taking them to undisclosed locations, in a time where people are going to be looking for people to make examples of or seek retaliatory vigilante justice, I cannot tell you how stupid you have to be, regardless of how you feel about Charlie Kirk, to attach your name and face to content celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, or the president, or any other prominent figures in politics. If you are a public figure, now is the time to be more precious with rhetoric. Hyperbole and shock value are fun and useful tools to make points when they are interpreted as such. However, I fear we are entering a time where consumers no longer can differentiate between dramatization and genuine calls to action and radicalization. Is that incredibly relevant here? No, as we don't yet know who shot Charlie Kirk or why. But it is very obvious that the boilerplate is getting hotter, and we have large microphones. It's a good time to be mindful of the tone we set. Many other people are making good points, far more elaborate videos for you to go watch, so I will leave you with this. This has set, or continued, a very bad precedent. Need I remind you, Charlie Kirk is not an elected official. He holds no position in office. He controls nothing legislatively. He's a political commentator, a podcaster with polarizing opinions that many people don't like. If that is where the bar is now, that opens one up to be shot and killed as people cheer, perhaps the new American dream is getting the fuck out. Because things of this magnitude do not only impact the individuals directly involved or people you don't like. How many controversial opinions do you think you or your faves deserve to be shot in the neck for?
Since everybody wants to talk about how sad it is that a family lost their father today, I want to remind everybody that George Floyd was a dad as well. Charlie Kirk, Republican influencer, was unfortunately unalived at Utah Valley University today, because I believe that as human beings, we don't have the right to give life, so we should not take it. We're very sad that he lost his life. However, my thoughts and prayers will always remain with George Floyd's family and the families of Palestine. Be fucking for today on CNN, Scott Jennings said, "I think it's important that we remind the world that Charlie Kirk was a husband and a dad." Did Charlie Kirk give that respect to George Floyd and his family? Absolutely not. People always want to withdraw more money than they deposit into the account. Okay, insufficient funds. Before we get into the facts of the Charlie Kirk story, I want to say boo, boo to the police chief. We are in the year 2025, and at this point, unfortunately, mass shootings are not rare occurrences. To invite 3,000 people to an event on your campus in your state, wherein these 3,000 people think they are going to be safe, and then you make them safe by providing 6 police officers? This is getting too long. Come back to the next video and let's talk about how the term political violence is being used, and I don't think that that's correct.
Also, this Charlie Kirk situation is just another reminder of how white supremacy and Christianity in America is so intertwined. Where there's white supremacy, you will find Christianity, and where there's Christianity, you will find white supremacy. Because I'm even seeing black people talking about, oh, even David mourned for Saul, and I'm just like, it's just a reminder of how the slave masters back then were able to manipulate black people and use the Bible to indoctrinate them. Slave master was using that Bible to manipulate black people into like forgiving them every time they were done wrong by their slave master. Like hearing some of these takes on the Charlie Kirk situation from Christians, like some of y'all would have hated to see Harriet Tubman come in because she was doing root work as well as helping lead people to freedom. That's why when it comes to magic, I don't believe in that whole like baneful magic thing. Like I believe in justice work, especially for the black people, like the very few that are out here talking about, oh, we feel bad for what happened to Charlie Kirk. Like, well, I don't know. I guess maybe your ancestors are raccoons. I don't know. But like, genuinely, do you think your ancestors will be crying about some Charlie Kirk?
I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk. First of all, Charlie Kirk don't believe in empathy. He said it's a bad thing. He said it's some new age made up shit. He also said people got to be sacrificed in order to protect guns. If he was saying that while fighting for reparations, I may have a little bit of empathy. But this white on white violence, he died? Damn, B. Life comes at you fast. I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk because I cannot be in his shoes. I have no frame of reference for that. I have no cognizance for that. There literally is nothing about his existence that I can relate to.
Nah, don't forget now. Charlie went and told y'all. This is an unfortunate sacrifice. Charlie Kirk went and told you that it was an unfortunate sacrifice that would need to be made to protect the Second Amendment. Things like this would have to happen. A citizen getting popped in broad daylight would have to happen. As unfortunate as it is, it was an unfortunate sacrifice that must be made to uphold the Second Amendment. Charlie Kirk fought for that. He worked hard for this. He worked real hard. He advocated for a fascistic regime, preached nonsensical race junk science that has been debunked for over 100 years. He hated the LGBTQIA community, an active TERF who didn't want women to have body autonomy and reproductive rights. He was a known Islamophobe, a white Christian nationalist, a man who he himself went on record on his little TV show and said he hated empathy. He thought it caused a lot of problems. Mr. Kirk worked real hard for this, and he knocked on hate's door all of his professional life. And the funny thing is, if you knock on hate's door long enough, hate will finally answer. And it answered him.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course, that's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. Oh no, imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson. They think this is persuasive. They think as they kind of now reveal that I'm only here because of anti-white, anti-Asian forced discrimination policies. That turned me into a bitter, resentful activist that hates white people, honestly, through our politics. Like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe. No. What do? I get charity every single year. Crime, like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Because of DEI, it begs the question when you see a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily. No one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, you know, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian.
Let's talk about the Charlie Kirk situation. Number one, it is sad when any human being has lost their life. Number two, there's a lot going on here energetically that I want to talk about. When you make a habit, meaning you're doing something consistently, when you make a habit of speaking on things that you know aren't true, when you make a habit of speaking against your conscience, speaking and pushing points that you know your conscience doesn't agree with, that you know your heart doesn't agree with, it never ends well. When you go against your moral compass for some checks, it never goes well. Because regardless of party, regardless of political beliefs, Charlie Kirk has consistently pushed things that I can see in his eyes. Even he himself knows this is some BS. Even he himself knows this is wild and I don't believe this as a human being. Party aside, political beliefs and political stance aside, there are some basic things that as human beings, we all know is wrong and we all know is right. Saying that innocent people, just people everywhere, innocent or not, saying that the death of people by guns is an acceptable price to pay to have gun rights. That it's an acceptable price to pay that some people are going to lose their lives if it means that we get to have guns. It's an unconscionable statement. And he knew that. He was comfortable saying that, one, for a check, because he knows riling up those groups of people pays well. Riling up those groups of people raises his profile. And number two, he never in a million years thought that the people who would be paying the price of gun rights would be his children and his wife. He was comfortable saying that not just for the checks, but he thought that his privilege would protect him from being the one who would pay the price. He thought that his privilege would protect him and his children and his wife from being the ones that paid the price for those gun rights. When you walk and talk against your conscience as a human being, it will never end well for you. Another place where energetics is playing here is in the empathy conversation. The fact that now that this terrible thing has happened to him, his supporters are preaching and pushing and crying for empathy. Empathy for the deceased, empathy for his children, empathy for his wife, empathy for his extended family. And this is how the universe teaches cruel lessons, because now you and your family are in need of deep empathy after pushing the talking point that empathy is a new age made up concept. Again, something wild to say for a human being, because empathy is one of the basis of being a human being. Empathy passes religions, empathy surpasses political beliefs, empathy surpasses cultural beliefs, empathy surpasses everything. Empathy goes beyond anything that could divide any of us. And as an educated human being, he knows that. Yet he still decided to push this dangerous talking point that empathy is a new age woke belief system. And now here are the people who are closest to you, your nearest and dearest, who now require empathy. Never, never speak and go against your conscience and your heart for a check, for notoriety, for prestige, or for power. It will never end well for you, because going against your conscience as a human being, I'm not talking about your conscience that is guided culturally. I'm not talking about your conscience that's guided by religious rules or religious beliefs. I'm talking about your conscience that's guided by your humanity, by your heart. Never go against that. Never make a habit or build a career going against that, because it corrupts the energy around you. The energy starts to be tarnished. The energy starts to get twisted, and the aura around you starts drawing in negativity, negative situations. I don't even want to say negative, bad situations, terrible situations. It causes pain and havoc all around you.
Good morning, Dr. Dex here. Just want to make a short video for black people. Look, this Charlie Kirk thing is not what you think it is. This is not about political ideologies. This is calculated. This looks like somebody involved in paramilitary activities has taken him out, and there's a reason behind it, and that reason is to stoke the embers of racism in this country, because there are individuals out here who are trying to start armed conflict between the races. Bottom line, that's what's going on. Don't get caught up in all of this other political rhetoric. That's not what this is. This was calculated. I spent the first 7 years of my professional career in a basement tracking white supremacist organizations, and they've been looking for this opportunity for the past 30 years to make somebody a martyr, and that's what they're going to try to do with this situation here. We can't fall for it. It is a distraction. Keep your eyes on the prize. I've seen a lot of content creators talking about free speech. This is not about free speech, and don't let people tell you that it is, because it's not. This was a calculated attack to create further division in this country. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. This is about white supremacy, and don't let people have you believing that it's not. This is about white supremacy, and this is about creating conflict in this country, because those who are in power now are terrified that that power is coming to an end because of the changing demographics in this country. So before you get on TikTok and other social media platforms defending Charlie Kirk, you need to remember what he was talking about at the time that this happened. And literally, the last words out of his mouth concerned gang violence. Gang violence in Utah. Why are we talking about gang violence in Utah? This is a distraction. There's something else at play here, and black people, we need to stay out of it.
So here, right, my fellow black Americans, the thing is, a lot of people will be saying, oh, it's possible, oh, it's coming from you guys. In as much as, there's a whole lot to actually think of right now, I would advise that people just move on and, forget whatever it is, right? He has passed this, he has passed. I wish, God had kept him alive to see what he wants to do with you all in America. That's all I can see for now. But since God does not want him to be here to see it, whatever it is, I want you to see your enemies really, really being rewarded right in your faces, right? So that is just it. And again, always remember that whatever goes around, come around, right? We should know the kind of words we put up there to the universe, because he has always talked about gun violence, celebrated gun violence and all of that. Imagine he died by it. And to say the last word he said was about gun violence, it's crazy. But then, it is what it is. Do you have anything to say? Let me see that in the comments, right? Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. It's always global. Just with BJ. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.